Welcome to the Wild Type Podcast. I'm Lyssa Lizards.
I'm Neptune and Chameleon.
And we're your reptile girlies. So I feel like this episode today, we've kind of been wanting to talk about for a while because this is something we've always talked about the big difference
since day
between
one.
us.
Yeah. From the beginning of time.
Yeah, because you have always specialized just in chameleons, and I have always kept a huge, not huge, but a wide variety.
More variety.
Yeah, of reptiles.
Yeah, and so today we want to talk about the differences, but
pros
I also
and cons.
Want to put the caveat that I do have a crested gecko.
You do, yes.
So, and I was thinking about this as we were wanting to talk about this topic. With chameleons, I keep different species of chameleons, which are completely different as far as
it's like variety within a niche.
Yeah.
Of a niche.
Yeah. Because chameleons is the variety within chameleons, I feel like is one of the more diverse variety compared to say crested gecko.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's like there's a difference of variety. Using the example of crested geckos, there's obviously a difference in morphs and things like that, but there's not a difference in species.
But crested gecko is a crested gecko is a crested gecko.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess the way you could think about it, this is interesting. I'm just going off the top of my head, but a gecko, there's a ton of different types of geckos, right? So maybe it's kind of like that where...
Or different skinks, different geckos.
Exactly.
Because they're all lizards, but then I've honed in on chameleons and a gecko.
Yeah. And one gecko.
one gecko.
One little cutie jumping gecko,
Yeah, but definitely with our content, though. That's
Very
where,
different.
for sure, I'm absolutely do chameleon content. Just the other day, someone asked me, can you do a step-by-step guide on caring for a crested gecko? I'm like, could I? Sure. Will I? No.
Do I need to? Is there already tons of content about that out there? Yes.
And that's the thing. I know, and my crested gecko makes appearances on stuff,
yeah.
But people ask me all the time to do care guides on crested geckos, and I'm like, I totally would, but it's going to be the exact same information that you can find.
It's
elsewhere.
There's so much crested gecko content out there,
and tons of great stuff.
So many great content creators making content for that. So it's is that needed in the space? Maybe not.
Not versus compared to chameleon content, where there's very few of us specializing in chameleon content. That's where I feel like I can have more of an impact,
and where you provide the most value too. I mean,
exactly.
And I totally get that.
Exactly. But yeah, chameleons are my thing. That's the area I specialize in, especially with my care. Even animals I want in the future are other chameleons versus you've got variety pack over here.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless for all the different species that I could or want to keep, or it's there's just a huge amount, and I'm interested in all of them. So
very different.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of nuances between that maybe our listeners are on the side of where they kind of hone in on one particular type of reptile, or they're more like you where they have the variety. But one thing that comes to mind is just the care alone, right? You have
100%.
Stuff that's nocturnal, diurnal, all even just having
crepuscular.
yes from our vocab episode, but then different diets, right? And so I experienced that a little bit by having a crested gecko, but there's
but it's
big
nice
differences.
Because something I'm jealous of your situation when it comes to the care is the majority of your animals have a very similar routine.
Yep.
Your routine is similar. The diet is similar. The days that they eat are similar.
Yep.
It's you've got it down to a science at this point. And I do too for my variety. But my variety is, Mondays and Thursdays are insect feeding days. The insect eaters eat on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yep.
Then Wednesdays are snake feeding days, but not every snake eats on every Wednesday. And it's there's so much to keep track of. And it's also the reason why, I would consider, I know you would never call yourself an expert, but compared to me, I would consider you to be more of a chameleon expert than I am. And because of me keeping a wider variety, I truly don't believe I will ever be able to consider myself an expert in any species because I'm spread more thin, if that makes sense.
No, totally. Yeah, there's obviously the day-to-day care aspect, but then it's also keeping up with the care practices, right?
And the information and all of that. And when you keep more species, that becomes more difficult and more complicated.
Yeah, obviously we're at the keeper level, but I talk about this frequently at the vet level or the store store level, because people get frustrated. They're like, oh, well, my vet said to do this. I'm like, hey, that's actually outdated care information. They're like, well, they should know better.
It's not their fault. Like,
I'm like, in an ideal world, absolutely. Totally. But realistically, for one singular person to keep up with all of the trends that are happening, improvements that are happening in care from a vet perspective, from a pet shop perspective, I'm one singular person who just does chameleons, and that is plenty to try and keep up with. Now imagine you're an exotic vet that sees not just reptiles, but like birds and other different mammals and whatever. Like, that's a lot to try and keep up with. And then you take that down to the keeper level. That's hard too.
Totally. Yeah. It's really interesting, especially I like the vet perspective of it too, just because.
And same with pet stores, right? Because they'll get frustrated. Well, the pet store told me this. I'm like, yeah, but they're like a 16-year-old. Like, how are they going to know 20 different species, all the nuances of their care? Like, it's constantly changing.
And the fact that, in the last 6 months, like UVB has, been more of a thing. It's like, it's just like, there's so much to keep up with. And the more variety you keep, the more limitations you're going to have in terms of your time and the care requirements and all of that.
Yeah. How do you keep up with that? Like, do you have any advice or tips and tricks? Like, how do you?
Honestly, for me, it's finding a schedule that works for each animal and then just keeping it very consistent. So like for me, like I know exactly which animal eats on which days and what they need to eat. And I try and keep notes of like, okay, well, last week, they ate this and this. So this week I'm going to switch it up to keep a varied diet to make sure that they're getting, different things. Like, for example, my blue-tongued skink, they're omnivorous. They can eat literally anything. They can eat
tons of stuff.
Quail eggs, ground turkey, ground chicken, ground beef. They can eat the reptilinks with, all the other variety and the whole prey and all that. I mean, and on top of that, they also eat greens. They also eat veggies. They can have fruits on occasion.
My guys are bugs.
Like, it's insane. Like, so for me, I try to keep up with, okay, well, last week I fed her a reptilink and, then a salad with a quail egg. And that was, and some insects. So this week I'm going to do, some ground beef because that's a little bit different. And then, maybe the following day, I'll throw in another reptilink. And so it's like, you just gotta it's really hard to keep track of, honestly.
If only there was a journal, huh? Because for those of you who don't know, I came up with a PDF. Yes. It's like the Reptile Keeper Journal for this exact reason, though. Yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
It is so daunting, and you need to get a printer so you can print it off and take advantage because it is a game changer.
I literally have been I've been telling Logan that we need to get a new printer because I can't print anything at my house. And you sent me the PDF literally 3 months ago, and I still don't have a printer. So I'm working on it.
No, but it's for this particular reason though. Like, as someone who has 3 reptiles that have the same supplement schedule, same bugs, they're all eating the same size as well at this point because they're all adults. That's very doable as far as keeping track of all of that. But then you throw in different species that have completely different diets. Like, that's just a lot.
Honestly, for me, at this point, I've got everything down pretty well just in my head. Like, when Mondays and Thursdays roll around, it's like, okay, I know Wednesdays, it's this one. What the hardest thing for me is, and any of my snake keepers out there will totally get this, when you have a lot of different snakes, and I only have 3, but for example, my corn snake eats almost every single week. I'll occasionally, depending on her weight and whatever, I'll occasionally, go every other week or whatever. But for the most part, she eats almost every single week. And
when you say corn snake?
Yeah.
You said she.
Oh my God.
He.
Thank you, Taz. Yes.
He's like, I'm sorry. Mom, what are you doing telling everyone I'm a lady?
Yeah, he's so not a lady. Especially with how little he is. He is not a big corn snake by any means because the males are smaller. So yeah. Sorry. Taz is a male.
I was like, what, did you get a new corn snake or what?
Just out here misgendering my male corn snake.
Poor Taz.
Poor Taz. Ugh, poor little guy. But anyway,
so you're saying he's more often.
Yes, he eats more often than my boas because boas put on weight more quickly, and so you have to be more cautious of that. And so the boas eat, every 3 weeks for the most part. And so but they're also not on the same schedule because so it's
they're different. Yeah.
So literally every Wednesday is snake feeding day, but which snake?
On which Wednesday? Yeah.
So it's like, that's the one that like, if I don't write down what date they last ate.
Right. Especially because it's like potentially weeks that are between. So it's not like it was a couple days ago or something.
It's so easy. I definitely, so Logan and I moved like last summer. And when we moved, I lost my journal. I lost a couple of different things. And I like literally just lost track of like when they had last eaten.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I know it was like the week before we moved because I made sure to feed them before the move. And I had to do like the mental math, and it was crazy. And so it's like, if I don't have something where I'm like at the bare minimum just writing down the dates in my phone, then like I will get totally off. And so that's something you have to be really meticulous about, specifically with snakes, because it's so easy for like the time elapsed in the middle. So you gotta be real particular about that.
Yeah. I was also curious too, like obviously that's your day-to-day stuff, but how do you also stay on top of the care requirements changing, right? When you have so many species, because with chameleons, like I'm on top of all the different journals that are coming out. I'm very active on the forums. Like we've got Chameleon Academy doing tons of research and interviews. So like I'm keeping up with those. That's a lot for just chameleons. So now you have to do it. You have to keep up with like crested gecko enclosure sizes.
All the things
just change. Like, you know, maybe anaconda temperatures are changing, or, you know, like, so do you have any tips for anyone as far as keeping up with?
Honestly, for me, it's more just like, I would say every like 4 to 6 weeks, I will just do like a sweep of like my favorite resources for all my different species. And I'll just kind of go through, I'll look and see if there are any new like peer reviewed studies or anything like that. And I'll just spend like a few hours at like once a month or so. And I'll just like comb through and like literally go through line item by line item of, okay, corn snake, okay, hog island boa, okay, yellow anaconda, okay, crested gecko. Like I'll go through the list.
Oh, that's good.
And so it's kind of just like a monthly thing for me. Like if I'm just chilling on a Saturday and I'm like, you know, it's been about it's been about a month since I've like, you know, checked out my resources. And so then I just once a month or so, I just kind of go through, and I would say it probably takes me 2 to 3 hours max, and I'll just do it while I'm watching TV, and I'll just like look through my resources. And if there's anything new, I'll take a mental note of that and be like, okay, like for example, the crested gecko enclosure sizes. Like that came out, you know, a few months ago, and again, you know, get more than one resource. Don't ever rely on only one resource. But that was something that I had also been feeling like, okay, this isn't enough space for mine, so I'm going to upgrade that. And that's something, and that resource saying that solidified that for me of, okay, in the next year, they're getting another upgrade. So it's just because something new came out doesn't mean that I'm going to make that change
like immediately adopt it.
No, but I make a mental note of it. I'm like, okay, what can I do in the meantime before?
I think that's
and
fair.
It depends on how big of a change it is. Like,
And what's the thought process behind it, right? Is this something that's been peer reviewed? Is this something that was an observation in the wild? Then it's like, okay, should we transfer that in captivity?
Is this a one-off resource and they're the only person that's saying this and nobody else is agreeing? Maybe we ignore that one. Like maybe we hold off until another resource comes out and confirms it. You know?
And you can't discount social media, right? You're obviously immersed in it, constantly taking in content from other creators.
I will say, to be honest, that is actually, I obviously, like I said, I do my monthly little thing, but I will say I am blessed in the fact that like I just occasionally will get in my comments, hey, did you see this? And I'm like, nope, let me look. You know,
don't mind if I do.
So it's kind of nice being on social media in that aspect, because I do just get like updates on occasion just in my day-to-day life. So I think it's important to sit down and do like dedicated research from time to time. But I do have the luxury of like getting tagged in new information and like this and that helps immensely. So
speaking of social media, I get told when we went to Animal Con, you know, and I was like, hey, I do chameleon content. They're like, oh, well, you should branch out. Like you should do more than just chameleons. And there's pros and cons. So like to be let's just even say like a pet content creator, that's a niche. To be a reptile pet creator, that's a niche within a niche. Now to be a chameleon content creator,
niche within a niche within a niche.
That's a small little chunk of the internet that's interested in learning about
teeny tiny. I say this all the time. In the reptile community, we are in our own little corner on the internet, and then you're within a corner within a corner.
Yes. So it's a very small market. So if my intention was to get tons of views, tons of followers, I'm doing it wrong. I would not be doing chameleons if that was the case. However, what I've noticed is I've had a lot of success because if you're into chameleons, you're watching everything.
You're deep into it.
You're watching every single one of my videos because you're like, I want to learn about chameleons.
Totally.
Versus other content creators who have a variety of species. like they'll put out a tarantula video and I'm like, cool, but I'm not going to watch it because I don't have any interest in keeping tarantulas as of right now, right? I can appreciate it, but I'm not going to sit there and watch it. But then I see they post a chameleon video. I'm like, all over.
Let's go. Yeah,
all over that. So their content, your content appeals to more people because you have the variety. But
also within what you just said, not everybody who follows me is going to watch all of my content if it's not one of the species that they keep.
Right.
So it's like, yes, I have a wider audience, but are they all watching every single video?
The engagement is going to be different. The engagement on mine, I would, go as far to say is going to be probably one of the highest based off of other reptile content creators.
Because your people are dedicated to that chameleons. One species.
Yeah. And people ask me, they're like, do you do bearded dragon content or do you do turtle content? And I'm like, no. And I don't know what happens after that, but I'm like, odds are they're not going to follow my stuff or care as much because they're interested in other things.
Well, and I actually, to my own detriment, will get comments like that all the time of like, do you keep turtles? Do you keep this and that? And I'm like, no, but my friend over here does. Yeah. Here's their tag. And so I'm literally sending people to other people because I'm like, whatever.
And that's the community. That's the beauty of social media. But pros and cons, because then I'm also, like, there's been many times where I wish I had more animals because I was like, okay, like, none of my animals want to come out, or I only can make chameleon videos. And not that I can only make that,
but it is more limiting.
Yes.
In a sense. Like
or like the trends that come out, right? I'm like, okay, how can I spin this to be a chameleon versus you have more animals that you could potentially
way more topics to cover, like all that stuff. So it's, I have less limitations. And granted, my literal username, Lyssa's Lizards, was a limitation that I was like, we're throwing snakes in there too.
Snakes. Do you think there's any cons from like a content creator standpoint by having the variety? Like, do you feel that like you're at any disadvantage by doing that?
I think you're at a disadvantage of the fact that the wider of a variety you keep, like I said, the more spread thin you are. So therefore you have a little bit more of like a probability for error, not necessarily error, but like missing something, for example, like because there's so much more. Because your
arms are just reaching further across.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, because there's so much more to keep up with and so much more information, it's easier to miss something. So therefore, like, I'm potentially open up for like a little bit more scrutiny of like, well, you didn't see this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like,
I would say from an observer standpoint, you get way more comments like across the board of just like, how do you care for this? How do you care for this? How do you care for this? Yes. And it's like 14 different species.
And it's really hard because from that aspect, because I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. I know like
how to care for your animals in your environment, but the nuances, you're not going to be as exposed to those versus in my situation, I understand a lot of the nuances because I've mentored tons of people. I've seen their environment. So while I don't live somewhere in a super dry climate, I have talked to tons of other people, so I can still give advice and recommendations on how to raise your humidity when you live in a desert or something.
And like, for an example, like I don't have any ball pythons, right? So I try not to speak very specifically to ball pythons. I'll speak about them and their care in like a general sense because I do have 2 snakes that have not necessarily exact care by any means, but similar-ish, like similar temperatures, similar humidity,
and then
whatever.
in your research, you've learned about
So I've learned a lot about ball pythons, but like, for example, in the case of ball pythons being notoriously picky, I know without a shadow of a doubt for a fact that most of the time, if a ball python is refusing food, like 80 to 90% of the time, it can be fixed with husbandry. It can be fixed with their care. Something is off in their care. Their humidity, there's not enough hides, this and that. Like, there's so many different factors there. But there are also ball pythons that literally will just go off of food for literally no reason at all.
Right.
So, and that's a nuance that like I can't speak to because I've never experienced that.
You haven't tried different things. You're like, oh, this is what worked for me. Give that a try.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
So in the case of like feeding, frozen thawed versus live, I will always tell anybody that I always recommend feeding frozen thawed, and you always should go that route if you can. But if you have a snake that hasn't eaten for 4 to 6 weeks, and literally the only thing, or even longer, I mean, literally some ball pythons will go off food for 6 months. At that point, if you're not trying live, your snake is at a detriment. If you're not giving it a try to get its belly fed.
But that's where things get gray and fuzzy and, and it depends on how is their enclosure set up and how this and like there's so many different factors that play into it.
I can tell you that till I'm blue in the face. I can tell you all those things, but I have not experienced it. and I have not been through it myself. So there's a certain level of like, I can tell you all the right things and I can help you as much as possible, but like I've never been through what you're going through.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conundrum.
No, I get that. Yeah. So you're at the detriment of like, you're not an expert in any one thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the flip side where I am seen as an expert in this one thing.
And I know you would never call yourself an expert, but you are more of an expert than most people. So it's like this weird.
But there's also pressure that comes.
Absolutely.
That comes from that, right? Of like, I'm expected to know these things, or I'm expected to answer these questions or have experience in this. But where I get fuzzy is when people are giving medications to their reptiles. Like they're like, the vet prescribed me this. Is that okay? And I'm like, I don't.
That is not my prerogative. I cannot tell you that.
I don't have a ton of experience in different medications. I don't know the nuances. Again, and this is just challenges of being on social media, period, right? Is we don't have all the information.
The amount of DMs I get calling me an expert or professional. I'm like, guys, no, I'm literally not. I'm literally just a pet keeper that has a lot of good experience. That's it.
Yeah. And so like, I'll be the first to be like, hey, like I don't have any experience in that. This is what I've heard, or here are some resources,
That's exactly how I handle it too. It's like, you gotta know your place and know where the line is.
Yeah.
And all those kind of things.
Well, I would say probably 98% of comments or DMs I get, I'm like very confident
in answer without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. And I'm the same way, but it just, having a variety opens you up for more questions, more nuances, more specifics. And there are so many times in my DMs where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I can't help you.
Right. Yeah. There's pros and cons, each. As of right now, I don't have any intention of kind of
branching out,
going into anything crazy. Like I've expressed interest in tortoises and things like that. Right.
You love tortoises. Like, every time we're at an expo, you're
I could definitely see myself going in like the tortoise route. We've talked about aquatics sometimes, but like that to me is a whole different.
It's a whole
different thing.
Gosh, yeah, you're gonna need a lot more time to go.
I don't have any interest currently in keeping any other like lizard other than chameleons. I don't have any interest in snakes or frogs, or but I find so much joy and fulfillment in chameleons. And I get that that's not always the case. Like the reptile hobby is notorious for the variety, but I'm like, this is just my thing.
This is just like a mild observation between the two of us. This has nothing to do with like this conversation as a whole. We're just a very big difference between the two of us. I find my interests in so many different species varying. Like there was a time that I was obsessed with ball pythons and I wanted a ball python. I grew out of that, and now I like one other species, and there's different. So it's like, I feel like my mind changes very frequently of like, I'm interested in this. Now I'm interested in this. It's like shiny object, this and that. And you're very like, this is my lane. I like it here. These are my favorites.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either way. It's just a big difference. I feel like my opinion changes a lot, and yours has very much stayed the same.
And I have consistent. A tendency to pick more challenging
You definitely
things.
Have that tendency.
For example, like my dog, right? She's a Dalmatian. It was not, do I want a dog? Yes or no? It was
Dalmatian
like, do I want
nothing.
Yeah, but like I knew I wanted a Dalmatian. I knew I wanted a chameleon. Both of those in the dog breed and in the reptile hobby are considered advanced. Yeah. An advanced breed, an advanced species, not something for a first time. Like no Dalmatian breeder would just casually be like, oh yeah, you should get a Dalmatian for your first dog. But I'm like, but I really want.
And also, Dalmatian. In your defense, you grew up with 4 dogs.
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't like
you're good.
I've never had a dog before.
Right.
But like I spent so much time, just like with chameleons, researching and over preparing and watching this and learning this.
You were so
and
prepared. It was insane. Like,
but that's just how I roll though, because I get my mind fixed. I'm like, I want this one thing.
You do not roll any other way. You are 150% or not at all.
I know. It's a blessing and a curse. But I feel like it translates into
everything.
The pets that I keep, right? And like chameleons are challenging, they're difficult, and that to me is very appealing in that.
I will say I've been, at least the last couple of years, more on that boat.
Yeah.
For example, like it's just...
Yeah, you want the tough stuff. If you're looking for a new enclosure for one of your critters, be sure to check out the ones from Zen Habitats. Every enclosure is customizable, allowing you to mimic nature and provide the various UVB and heat gradients required for your species, which means they'll work great for both tropical and arid environments.
One of our very favorite things is how easy Zen makes it to stack multiple enclosures with their stacking spacers, and their extension kits allow you to be even more efficient with your space. All of their enclosures, stands, and spacers come with a 5-year warranty and free shipping on all their orders. Check out zenhabitats.com for your next enclosure. A new month means new deals.
You guys already know we're big fans of Pangea Reptile, and they have a ton of sales and discounts for the month of March, including their supplements. We hope you get lucky and take advantage of their green promotion for St. Patrick's Day. Many green products will be on sale, including plants, hanging bushes, ultimate vines, and succulents.
Then be on the lookout for their spring cleaning clearance sale. And the last one is for all of our rescues. Pangea is also discounting a ton of health-related products, and each promotion runs for 1 week. So head on over to PangeaReptile.com so you don't miss out. Like for me, getting Tarzan, I was like, that's a hell of a challenge.
Yeah.
Like a yellow anaconda who is known, like the species is known to be defensive. They are known to not be nice. And I was like, let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can make this work. Now I have like an angel of an anaconda.
Yeah.
So it's...
Because you went into it fully knowing you're like, I will be handling this animal every single day, whether like I feel like it or not. Like I'm going to make sure I put in this time.
I don't care if I get bit in the face. And I did.
True story. True story. But maybe we should have like a biting an episode.
We 100% should have a what bites
like
have you experienced?
Bite stories.
Yeah.
But like you went into it like fully knowing you're like, I'm taking on this challenge. Yeah. You knew what it was going to take to get the animal that you wanted. Yeah. And as a result, you now have this awesome anaconda. But like you were like, hey, here goes nothing.
All and
or
you,
nothing. You were talking to anaconda breeders. You were talking to people who had handled them and owned them, asking for them advice. Like you were doing all the prep work, and you put in the time.
It was very intense. It was I was drawn in because it was one of my first species that I was like, this is outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing here. Especially not even just the handling of them and the potential defensiveness and stuff like that. But they're also, when it comes to their defensiveness, because they're semi-aquatic, they're a species that can whip its head around in a different way than other snakes.
Right. So the body language and everything is going to be different. Yeah.
And on top of that, like I said, they're semi-aquatic. That's a whole other care environment that I'm not used to. And I'm, planning on doing a water feature in his new enclosure. How the heck do I build a water feature?
Right. Those are bridges you haven't crossed yet. Yeah. So your growth as a keeper is being challenged. That's how I feel when I look at potentially owning a carpet chameleon or a Mallory's chameleon. Like, yes, they're all chameleons, but they all have their own challenges and they're not commonly kept. I mean, carpets are fairly
more
kept, but like Mellors for sure, Christopher Parsons. Like I only knew 2 people at the time who had owned them that were willing to talk to me to like let me know what they had learned about them. And I'm like, well, this is going to be a challenge, but you have that baseline knowledge that as a keeper, you can take on the stuff that doesn't have as much care information or not as experienced.
Honestly, like that's the beauty of the hobby is the growth in that and the journey and the like once you're at the point where you're like, okay, I have mastered these species. What can I take on next is like such a moment in like your journey as a keeper because it's very like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. It's almost like a career move. Like I'm ready for management
you've like conquered that mountain and you're looking for the next thing. No, it totally is.
It's just an interesting thing. And I don't feel like, and I know people have, feelings about calling being a reptile keeper a hobby because they're living animals. It's a lifestyle, all of that.
For sure.
But there aren't many hobbies out there that I feel like, and I could be wrong, there's always more hobbies, but that I feel like have that much like leveling up of stuff.
I would challenge you on that because I'm thinking of like different sports, right? Like there's different, like those are sports. Hobbies.
I guess in my head, sports. I don't
and
know.
like if you're like riding horses or something, right? There's always like a challenge.
That's fair.
Challenge with that.
That's fair.
Crocheting, like you're like, oh, this is a really difficult pattern that I haven't tried. So I feel like there's always
that's fair.
There's always like growth for.
It just feels different.
Maybe rock collecting. That one might has
it's got a plateau.
A low bar. No, but I totally hear what you're saying, and I think that's what's exciting with the growth and everything. Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons for sure of having multiple species, the variety. I know sometimes I feel like a dum-dum when I'm around other people and they're talking about reptiles and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But because I just don't have that exposure, that experience in those species. And I'm like, if you want to talk about chameleons, like I got you.
I got you all day, yeah.
But we'd love to hear from you guys. Like, do you lean more on the side of kind of specializing in one area. And granted, I technically have 3 species, so like more than just one, but that's considered very few. And 2 of them are still chameleons,
right?
You know,
right?
Or having multiple.
Well, it's kind of like too.
Species.
Like I know we talked about how like, you know, chameleons have more species. There's obviously a bunch of species of geckos. Like there are people, you know, who only focus on having geckos.
Yeah.
And only, you know, so it's like, so we just want to know, what do you guys do? You know?
Yeah. And obviously something to change because Lyssa's lizards did not stay.
No, she did not.
No,
she did not. And now it's confusing. So sorry about that.
Lyssa's lizards. And snakes.
I think I literally have that in like my YouTube description of like, and snakes.
Yep.
Like we do all the things here.
I know. And now you have multiple snakes. It's not like just in a snake. It's
exactly
plural.
Exactly. And I think I'm getting a 4th soon.
Yeah.
TBD.
We'll cross that.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. But yeah. So I think, does that wrap us up for our main topic?
I think so. I think that was a good discussion. But I think that's what makes this podcast so fun is we've got different perspectives, right?
Very different.
Of having more of a specialized, you know, way of going about it, and then you're having the
variety. Yeah. It's fun. Okay. Well, our next one. So I've got a question from you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay. It is from Countryside Geckos. So
thank you for your comment.
Yes.
Question.
Appreciate you. So the question is, what is our favorite crested gecko morph?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to lean towards the Dalmatian morph. I will say I feel like I'm behind on crested gecko morphs. I feel like there's a lot of new stuff that's come out that I just haven't really kept up with.
The last expo that we went to, they were like naming a few, like at least 2 or 3 morphs, and I was like, I've literally never heard it.
Like
where did that come? That one came out of nowhere for me.
I'm like, is that a brown gecko? I don't.
Pretty much.
But yes. I don't like if you put 2 brown geckos next to me, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one's the cappuccino and which one's not.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a strong enough understanding of the
which
trait
one's which
to know like how this defines this as a like a cappuccino or whatever.
I get that.
And like is it sable? Is that
I think so. I feel like I've heard of that one recently.
Yeah, like I said, there's just like some new ones recently that are gaining some momentum that I just haven't kept up with.
I feel like crested geckos are becoming the new ball pythons, where there's just so many morphs. It's like, what even is this like pied bumblebee tarantula thing? I don't know. Like there's just so many, so it's hard to keep up. But I will say, and I know that this one is going out of style. My Super Dalmatian is for sure one of my favorites too, but to give variety to our answers, the other one that I am still to this day obsessed with that is going out of style is becoming slightly less expensive than it was.
Lily White?
Yes.
I guessed it.
It was the big, huge morph like
when
2 or 3
Lily
years
White
ago.
Came out, you're looking like 10 grand a gecko.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, they were crazy expensive, and to have this Lily White, but just like with anything we see in the reptile hobby, right? Supply, demand, right?
Yes.
When it's rare, people are going to be paying more, obviously.
And then it becomes more and more common. And less and less expensive.
Yeah.
So I would love to have a lily white.
Yeah, the lily white. I'm a sucker for like the red lily whites.
Oh, yes, the red ones. Those are so freaking
Those to me are stunning. And I know it's very appealing to have a lot of the lily white characteristic on there.
Yes.
I like it when it's kind of like a half and half, where that red still comes through.
I do too.
And then you have the contrast of the lily white. Like I wouldn't want one that's mostly white. Those are still stunning, but I personally like the ones that are like have a good split between the two.
Actually the exact same way. And if best case scenario, one day I will have a red lily white.
Red lily white.
I was just saying the general one, but the red ones are also very much my favorites.
Especially fired up. Those are some stunning geckos.
And of course the super dowels, like I love those.
How many spots is too many spots though?
Literally the limit does not exist.
How do you feel about the brown red spots?
I like those. I think that's really
like the red spots.
What?
I like the black. Ugh. I want the black spots.
I like the red and brown. I think it's really cool.
No, I like the black.
It looks like confetti. Like it's so cool.
They're cool, but like my gecko only has black spots.
I think if I were to have another crested gecko, I would do either a super dowel or a lily white, but I actually think I would go the female route.
Oh.
Just because in my experience, the male geckos are way more psycho. and I've learned that isn't just mine. That is that is a lot of other people's too. They've just got the hormones pumping. Yeah.
Crazy.
And my female gargoyle is so chill. I mean,
Poke just sits there looking cute.
She like never moves. Like I've rarely seen her like hop around that much. I mean, she's so chill.
Yeah, she definitely moves around, but she's not like body slamming into like the glass door like
I know.
some other geckos.
Yeah. So I think I would go the female route, even though, you know, they lay infertile eggs and that can be kind of scary. I feel like the females are generally a little more relaxed, and I think I would want to go that route. But.
Okay. I do want to do an episode at some point where we talk about male versus female reptiles, because I feel like there's so many nuances and people don't really talk about.
We could go on nuances for over an hour about that topic. That's quite a lot.
Saying. Like across species, size differences, temperament, egg laying, coloration. Like there's so many things with males versus females. So the fact that you touched on temperament is great. I definitely want to do like
100%. We'll add it to the list. Add to the list. We got a running list in our phone, guys. Don't worry.
Episode topics.
Yeah, we got a shared note.
Yes. So. Like 1 a.m. I'm like, I need to write that down.
No, I will literally get notifications from you at like 1 and 2 a.m.
I didn't know you were notified.
It's fine. I don't care. It's just funny.
It's like, why is she not asleep right now?
I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, okay. We got a new topic idea. Love it.
But I'm like, because if I don't write it down, I will forget.
No, I'm that way too. I'm literally going to have to write it down after we hit end on this. Yeah. But does that wrap us up on that question? If you think that was a good answer? Yeah. Okay. So moving into our next little segment. Are you the type of girl
to
swap your earrings out or leave them in?
Okay. Now I came up with this.
Yeah. We got to explain this. We got to explain because that sounds weird.
On the surface, I definitely think this sounds weird, but you and I are very different in this, where you guys, I realize also have never seen our ears on the podcast.
I was going to say I would show you, but we're
wearing our, wearing our headphones, but I have multiple ear piercings and all of them stay in except for my like first whole lobe piercings. Those I swap out constantly. And I'm a dangling ear girly. Dangle earring. That's what I'm trying to say.
Dangle.
Say that 10 times fast. Dangle earring girly. And so, but I can't wear them with these headphones. So I'm always bummed out because I'm like, my outfit would be so much cuter if I had my earrings. But I love swapping out my earrings constantly. And I do them by outfit. I do them by week. I do them by seasons. Like, I love doing that. Then there's you, who will literally go into Photoshop and like pre-plan out
I'm a psycho.
Your piercings and then like have the jewelry picked out before you even get the piercing, and yours don't change. They're like locked in there.
They are locked in. Well, okay, I will say every few years I will occasionally Yes, I know.
Not months, not weeks, years. So as I said, they're locked in.
They are. There. So, okay. So let me explain myself just a little bit.
But this is why I wanted to bring this up, because are you the type of girl too? Because you either are like you or like me. So explain your process.
My psychosis. Yes. I get it. So basically I think I have like a total of 10 to 11
double
ear piercings
digits.
In total. Yeah. So on each ear, and I actually just got my second doubles done. So I've got even more, but basically because of that, I have all of those. I've picked out my jewelry. I've planned them, and it's because I love a good curated ear. I love it. They are all yellow gold. That is very, very important to me. My wedding ring, my engagement ring, all of that is yellow gold only.
Yeah, like, you're a yellow gold girl. Your necklaces are yellow.
I'm a yellow gold girl till the day I die. And so I like, even when it was very popular and very trendy, like the platinum and white golds and all this stuff. I'm like, nope, yellow gold's old school forever.
I feel like yellow gold's coming back. Like it was white gold, then rose gold was like,
yes, that was so trendy for a long time.
Hot. Then yellow gold, I feel like is gaining some momentum. Yes. White gold is still up there, but it's gaining some popularity.
For me, the yellow gold is just classic. It might rise up in a trend, but it is always a staple and traditional, and I just love it. And so for me, I love a good curated ear that I have picked out since I was 16 years old. I have been planning each of my ear piercings. I'm now at the point where I don't have any more that I had planned from a young age. So now from here on out, if I get any more, it's like going rogue. So
off the plan,
off of the plan. But when I was 16, I literally got on Photoshop and I started like I took pictures of my own
Her
ears.
own literal ear.
Because people have different shaped lobes.
Absolutely.
They have different
I think
traguses.
that is
they have different.
So smart. More people should do that. You should do ear consulting and give people advice on their earrings.
No, yeah.
I think this is hilarious because in this exact same episode, you were saying how you bing bop all over the place and just kind of go whatever. But
not
then,
with my earrings.
Not with your earrings,
not
though.
With my earrings. I am diehard on that. But I will say my 2 lobe piercings. Those are the ones that I have my everyday gold little hoops that I wear every single day. It's my go-to. But if I'm going out, if I have like a birthday celebration, if I'm doing something a little more formal, if I'm going to a wedding, I will swap those out with like, bigger, more fun, like statement earrings for sure. But the other piercings don't not move. Change.
Yeah.
Ever. And like I said, they'll sometimes change every like 3 or 4 years if I find like a cool new piece of jewelry that I want to, exchange it with or whatever. Yeah. But I'm pretty
That's what
over
I'm
the
saying.
top
This
with
is
it.
why I'm like, there's got to be 2 different types of people. Maybe there's a third, someone who doesn't care. But
I'm sure there are plenty of people who do not care.
Don't care. They're like, whatever's in my ear.
I can't relate. Don't even understand this conversation.
Yeah. But I think it's very interesting. So let us know if you are the type of girl who is like very meticulous about your earrings, or you just have the same ones. You're just a staple through and through, right? You just wear the same pair, like, no matter what, or if you're more on my side where you just kind of swap them out.
You swap yours all the time, and it's always fun to see whatever you're going to wear. So
but to me is like, how you kind of express yourself of like different outfits, and that's how I feel of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that.
I think they're fun. I'm a big like when you go to Claire's, and you can buy those like variety packs where it's like 20 different ones. I was all over those as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love, you know what? I think I was too, actually. When I was a kid, because I got my lobes pierced when I was like 8 or 9. That was a big moment in my household.
Yes.
Big moment.
I think it was 7 or 8. Yeah, so similar age.
I did it with my childhood best friend since I was 3 years old. Friend of 27, 28 years. We went and got ours done together at like 9 years old at Claire's. And, and then now some of my ear piercings I did myself with a gun you can get at Walmart.
Stop.
In my college dorm.
No.
Craziness. Would never do that again. Would never do that again.
No.
But yeah, so let us know. Or honestly, are you the type of girl, do you only have lobe piercings? Do you have no ear piercings?
Or like cartilage and stuff?
Yeah. That's like some people don't want anything else other than like the mains.
Simple. Yeah. No, I totally get it. So, I have a lot of fun with my ear piercings.
It's my
Although
favorite.
I'm a total chicken when it comes to getting new ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of weird. For me, it's like very therapeutic, and I'm not a chicken about it.
It's not the piercing. It's not the actual piercing part. It's the commitment to the piercing.
See, but I don't feel any commitment at all because most of them will grow back in.
The little nub that's on the inside of your ear, is that your helix?
No, wait, the nub, that's the tragus.
Tragus. So I was thinking about getting that done.
You should.
And I literally went to the tattoo shop and everything. And I was like, no, can't commit.
I will say that is the one that I've done. I did that one in college on a fraternity formal trip in Nashville. And that was the one that is like the loudest pop in your ear.
To me, it's not even the piercing. Yeah. It's just like, what if I don't like it? Or what if I don't want it anymore? Like, it's the commitment piece of it. Then like, what if I have a little nubby hole that's like closed up? So to me, it's not even
that's so
like
funny.
I don't have issues with needles or piercings. Like, I don't necessarily, it's not therapeutic. Yeah. I don't enjoy it, but I don't care. I'm like indifferent about it.
It's 100% therapy for me. Cause like, and again, this is just, I'm very strange with this, but almost every single one of my ear piercings, like I said, I've had them planned out since I was 16. However, I have always, and I don't know why, and I only realized that I did this after like a few different times, and I was like, I have a pattern here. And my pattern is a lot of my ear piercings, for whatever reason, I knew that I wanted them. I knew that I would plan them, but I would only go and get them done when I was like going through like a transitional moment in my life.
Oh, interesting.
I literally don't know why that's the case. I think it's like when I'm going through a weird...
you just got your little shark tooth done. Did you feel like that was a transitional...
I quite literally just got married, had the most insane year of my life, got a dog, started a pot. Yes, I am...
And you're like, what sounds like a good idea right now?
Like I said, it's like therapy for me. Like,
interesting.
And I don't take friends with me. I go by myself.
It's your me time.
And it's something that like... I almost feel like an accomplishment of like, I don't need support in this. I'm going to go and I'm going to do something that might hurt a little.
You're a bad baddie.
Yeah. It gives me this like weird, like boost of confidence.
I can see that.
And quite literally, I could tell you, this one's a breakup piercing. This one's a breakup piercing. This one was when I graduated college. This one was when I started college and was getting a little crazy.
No, I mean, I can tell you all of my piercings. Like I have, maybe it's because there is a little bit of pain associated with it. So it like makes the memory a little more sticky, right?
Think it does, yeah.
Because painful memories typically, resonate a little bit more. But I can tell you exactly where I was, who was with me in every single one of my piercings.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah.
I got at least 2 or 3 breakup piercings in college and all kinds of stuff. It's like they all have their own memories.
None of them were like...
Again, for me,
and they were all with someone. They're all tied to like memories with a person.
Friend. Yeah. That's sweet too, though. Yeah. That's sweet too. For me, it's like, I think the reason, like especially the breakup ones, I was like, I'm going to go do something that's going to make me feel powerful.
No, I totally get that. No, mine have definitely correlated with like, middle school, high school, college, post-college, like all of them kind of track with like those kind of different like chapters.
It's also like, for me, they're all impulsive. Not impulsive in the sense that I didn't plan for them because I meticulously planned for them.
But like today's the day.
Choosing the day is like very much like I'll just be hanging out and be like, I'm gonna go do that. And I go and do it. The first time it happened when I was dating Logan, he like, I'm pretty sure I told him after the fact. And he was like, what? You just decided? Yes. Yes. I just decided this out of nowhere. That's how you roll.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's great. Piercings are an interesting phenomenon.
They're fun. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like they also kind of go with reptile keeping. Tattoos, piercings, reptiles. That's just kind of
people just like associate them together, and I'm like, whatever. I'm a walking stereotype minus the tattoos. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. But let us know, guys, your 2 cents on. Yeah.
Do you have any earrings other than your lobes? Do you have no lobes? Do you swap them out? Do you not swap them out? I'm curious. I'm a big piercing girl, so fill me in.
Let us know. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
We appreciate you so much.
As always, if you want to give us a question, drop us a comment. Follow us at the Wild Type Podcast, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. We're slowly getting momentum on all of the channels, which is very exciting. Yeah.
Leave us a voice memo. Leave us a review. Any of the things.
Comment, subscribe, the whole shebang. Otherwise, you can find me at Neptune the Chameleon.
Lyssa's Lizards.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See you later, girlies.